This Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for being with us at this webinar on cryoablation of abdominal wall endometriosis, sponsored by Boston Scientific. I'm Roberto Cazzato. I'm an interventional radiologist at the University Hospital of Strasbourg in France, and it is my great pleasure to animate this webinar with Professor Farouche, who is a well-known interventional radiologist specializing in MSK. She's from the University Hospital of Toulouse. And with us, we'll have also Professor Elodie Chantalat, who is a gynecologist, also from the University Hospital of Toulouse in France. So, welcome to my co-host and co-moderators, and I will give you a very rapid overview of the program. So we will open with a real case. So we have the story of a patient who will tell us how it was her experience with endometriosis and with cryoablation. Then we will move to the more epidemiological and clinical aspects of the disease with Professor Chantalat. Then it will be my turn. I will try to make a very fast and rapid overview on the major results and clinical evidence available in literature supporting cryoablation for the treatment of abdominal wall endometriosis. And then it will be the turn of Professor Chantalat and Professor Farouche. They will explain us how the collaboration between gynecologists and interventional radiologists should be set up in the hospital, and which are the tips and tricks to make this collaboration function as much as possible. Then we will have a rapid overview on few technical aspects, so practically how the disease is treated, so how we should from a technical point of view think about the treatment. And then it will be the turn of you, of the audience, so you will be free to ask all the questions you like to the three of us before we can close this webinar. So we can move ahead, and I think it's the moment to see our patients giving us a feedback on her experience with the disease and with the cryoablation treatment.
Salut, je suis Eugenia, j'ai 37 ans. En 2007, j'ai fait une césarienne et après quelques années, en 2010, j'ai commencé à avoir des douleurs au niveau du bas-ventre et j'étais obligée de prendre des médicaments, des anti-inflammatoires, des corticoïdes pendant une dizaine de jours par mois, donc pendant mes règles et aussi la période juste après les règles. J'avais des problèmes aussi à marcher et pour moi c'était devenu vraiment quelque chose de handicapant. Et je suis convaincue que j'ai une kyste ovarienne qui me fait mal et qui me pourrit la vie. Au bout de 8 ans, j'ai été diagnostiquée suite à mon deuxième accouchement. Mon gynécologue qui voit que je continue à avoir des douleurs me demande de faire une IRM. Et à ce moment-là, il m'explique qu'en fait ces douleurs ne sont pas dues à une kyste, mais plutôt à une endométriose pariétale. Et donc, je tombe des nuages. Je ne savais pas du tout ce que c'était une endométriose pariétale. Il m'explique en fait que sur ma cicatrice, il y avait du tissu endométriosique qui s'était formé. Et c'était ça qui causait mes douleurs et c'était ça qui me rendait la vie très difficile. Je n'avais pas trop envie de faire une nouvelle opération, une nouvelle cicatrice et la possibilité d'avoir encore ces problèmes tout au long de ma vie. Et donc du coup, j'avais décidé de continuer mon traitement, de supporter cette maladie et j'avais un peu effectivement baissé les bras et j'avais pas trop d'espoir. Jusqu'à ce que, un jour, Au tout hasard, j'étais avec Dr Katsato, qui est un ami. Je lui demande s'il a un antidouleur ou un anti-inflammatoire parce que j'avais mal au ventre. Il me demande voilà, le pourquoi de mes douleurs et je lui explique toute mon histoire, tout mon vécu. Et je vois qu'il commence à changer d'expression. Il me dit, mais Eugénia, j'ai la solution pour toi. Je vais te libérer de cette douleur. Il me dit, tu sais, en ce moment, on est en train d'essayer de soigner l'endométriose pariétale grâce à une nouvelle technique de cryoablation. Il m'a expliqué que c'était une opération très peu invasive, très rapide, qui ne demandait pas une hospitalisation et qui aurait à jamais résolu mes douleurs. Et c'est comme ça qu'après un mois, j'étais délivrée de mes douleurs, que ma maladie était partie en une seule heure d'intervention. Pour moi, c'était une délivrance. C'était finalement la fin de souffrance et j'ai finalement pu recommencer à avoir une vie normale. Je souhaite que toutes les femmes qui souffrent de cette pathologie puissent être bénéficiaires de cette intervention parce que ça sauve vraiment la vie.
So thank you very much for sharing this video. I think it tells the reality, tells the truth, because it's exactly the story how it happened, and now she's still fine. I think several years after the treatment. So now it's my great pleasure to introduce Professor Chantala from Toulouse. So she will tell us about the epidemiology and the main treatments that a gynecologist can propose to our patients. Thank you, Professor Chantala.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thank you for inviting me to speak to you about endometriosis and specifically deep endometriosis involving the muscle of the abdominal wall. So, Marie, thank you. Endometriosis is an inflammatory, estrogen-dependent gynecological disease. It involves endometrial tissue found outside of the uterine cavity. There are several forms of lesion: superficial, simply resting on the peritoneum, or deep, in fact, infiltrating more than 5 mm of the peritoneum and sometimes the adjacent organ. Thus, in the specific case of parietal endometriosis, the lesion infiltrates the parietal peritoneum and then the muscle. Ovarian location and or endometrioma and adenomyosis is that when the endometrium does not completely exit the uterus but infiltrates the myometrium. In addition to the various forms, there are several possible anatomical locations. The leading theory regarding the origin of the disease is Sampson's theory of tubal reflux. However, virtually all women experience this menstrual tubal reflux, so why in certain patients does the ectopic endometrium survive, implant, develop, and migrate? Okay, next, Marie, please. Thank you. It is therefore necessary to gain a better understanding of the mechanisms underlying the condition's development, particularly to improve diagnosis. Indeed, one of the condition's characteristics is the diagnostic delay, which runs from 7 to 10 years according to the various studies who here in this slide. And so, indeed, one of the public authorities, have consequently addressed this issue due to its impact on patients' quality of life and the cost incurred by society. So the cost of endometriosis in France now exceeds that of diabetes and several cancers. Okay, next, Marie. So to revisit our understanding of the disease and the various processes of onset and progression described in current literature, it is clear that new study models are needed to understand the different forms of endometriosis, especially its various locations and particularly parietal endometriosis. Three-dimensional study models have been developed to enable drug testing with a view to a personalized and less invasive approach. Indeed, the veritable question is it's endometriosis the same disease regardless of its anatomical location. Marie, you can put to the small video, no, the slide here. Yes. So it's a two-dimensional organoid to test drug in lesion of abdominal wall endometriosis. So the next slide, please. Thank you. Here we show the variability of symptoms also contributes to diagnosis delay and difficulties in understanding the physiopathology. 75 patients present pain, present and seek consultation for pains, but this pain can vary widely. The pain can be variable in this location, cyclicity, intensity, menstrual or periovulatory, persistent with menstrual worsening, absent or atypical. And its cause dysmenorrhea, dyspareunia, dyschezia, and finally an impact on quality of life. At the beginning, absenteeism at school, and then professional absenteeism, impact on quality of life on sexual function and social. And the second complaint among the patient concern multifactorial infertility, ovarian impairment with reduced follicular reserve, adhesion and tubal obstruction, adenomyosis, and systemic inflammation. Okay. The next. Particularly abdominal wall endometriosis is a rare condition that predominantly occurs after surgery or cesarean section and responsible of disabling cyclical pain. Its prevalence is estimated to be between 0.03 and 1% after a cesarean section. And isolated parietal nodule or nodule associated with pelvic endometriosis in 5 to 15 of cases. Cyclic abdominal pain will be present, a palpable mass, and a history of abdominal surgery is a pathognomonic triad, but individual cases may vary in presentation. The differential diagnosis of abdominal wall endometriosis includes incisional hernias, lipomas, abscesses, granulomas, cysts, sarcoma, and scar tissue. So in the presence of an abdominal nodule, we must look for a history of associated dysmenorrhea and a cyclic pattern. Okay. Next, historically, the only effective treatment was surgery at its price of non-negligible morbidity and functional and/or aesthetic consequences. Percutaneous sclerotherapy has emerged in recent years as a safe and effective treatment, as said the patient. cryoablation is a minimally invasive method used when hormonal drug treatment fails, and cryotherapy of abdominal wall endometriosis requires a pre-procedure interventional radiology consultation after validation of the indication in the multidisciplinary staff. The detection of lesion consists in an association for clinical exam, ultrasound, and MRI. And next, we can show here, in conclusion, an example of